housing!
Rent control LA!
We don't need sports!
We need a place to stay!
Affordable housing!
Rent control LA!
Today we thank the members of the media for being here today for this very important press conference in which we are going to be detailing and talking about the crisis, the housing crisis here in Los Angeles. It is estimated that if nothing is done for the next 5 years, we will see a 40% increase in homelessness. It's not acceptable, and today we are going to be challenging the City of Los Angeles, Mayor Garcetti, and City Council to step up and come up with a plan.
My name is Sylvie Shane, and I used to live at the Villa Carlotta in Hollywood until developers bought our 50-unit rent-stabilized building in 2014 to turn it into a boutique hotel. I didn't take this lying down, and I put up a well-publicized fight. Time and time again, I would go down to City Hall looking for an ally on our council. I thought surely someone there would find the idea of turning homes into hotel rooms totally wrong. The land wasn't even zoned for a hotel. I would soon learn that the city never stops a developer from applying for a zone change, and the city almost always approves them. When visits to the city council proved fruitless, I moved on to the mayor. I was still pretty new to civic engagement and, well, pretty naive. Ultimately, with a lot of determination, community engagement, and support from our newly elected councilmember Rue, we were able to stop the hotel project. But the community-destroying Ellis Act isn't tied to project approvals, so I was displaced from my home and my beloved neighborhood. The experience was devastating. Ultimately, losing my home turned me into a housing rights advocate and a founding member of the LA Tenants Union. And today, I spend almost all of my time educating and organizing tenants facing eviction and going down to City Hall to push for more equitable and sustainable housing policies. What I've come to realize from all of my time down at City Hall is that we are definitely in a crisis. But the real crisis is that of political will. The will to delve deeper and identify the root causes of the problem. The will to stand up and say that the greed of the profit-driven private sector caused these problems, and therefore we can no longer simply turn to it for a solution. The will to say that housing is fundamentally a human right, because it is a necessity and therefore should not be treated as a commodity. The will to look for holistic solutions, not Band-Aid fixes. Currently, city leadership contents itself to simplify a complex problem with one simple solution: just build more of anything, ignoring the fact that we need units affordable to people of lower and middle incomes. The city consistently allows the destruction of low-rent units like those at 1749 Las Palmas, where the rents are $600 a month, in exchange for more market and luxury units. Because somehow producing more Ferraris will lower the price of a Honda. We may be building more units, but we keep losing more affordability, because gentrification and displacement are real impacts that the city continues to ignore. Mayor Garcetti, there is a total disconnect in the way that you want to serve the needs of the working people of the city. We want affordable roofs over our heads. You want to bring us the Olympics. If you spent half the time and determination as you have lobbying for the Olympics in LA on figuring out how you're going to solve our homelessness and affordability crisis, you and the City Council would have put together a comprehensive housing affordability and homelessness prevention plan for the city of Los Angeles. A plan that would include a real commitment to push for the repeal of the state Costa-Hawkins and Ellis Acts so that we can expand rent control and protect more people from losing their homes to profiteers. A built-in right of return for residents into new development projects so that people can stay in the communities that they've helped build. A vacancy tax so that no new unit of housing remains vacant for more than a few months. A commitment to pass a public banking system and use that capital to take land out of the private speculative market and into perpetual affordable housing models like community land trusts and cooperative housing. Meaningful regulation on short-term rentals to bring back the tens of thousands of units that we've lost. A breakdown of how the money from HHH will be spent with independent civilian oversight. And finally, committed homelessness and housing rights advocate, like the ones you will hear from today, to be appointed to the newly formed Affordable Housing Commission. City Hall, we need you to focus. We need you to prioritize the needs of the people of Los Angeles first. We need you to hear the people who are struggling and to listen to the advocates who are struggling to help them. If you're serious about resolving the affordability crisis, then you need to come up with a plan as to how you're going to do it, and you need to let us have a seat at the table when you craft it. How many tenths will it take before you start listening?
Now we're going to have Oriño Espinaldo, and he's, I'll let his story be told right now.
I'm Oriño Espinaldo. I've been a teacher for 50 years as a mentor teacher in South LA. My home was stolen by Wells Fargo and defrauded after I lived in it for 65 years. Technically, I'm homeless because I cannot afford, because all of my equity was taken out by Westwood and Wells Fargo, that I got nothing back. And I'm technically homeless, and I'm gonna stay here and fight to the end, even though my family lives in other places. Woo, thank you.
My name is Ridge Gonzalez. I'm the Communications Director of the Eviction Defense Network. 55,000 evictions were actually filed in LA County in 2016. 2,200 of those were able to get free legal services. But the question is, what happens to the other 99%? They go to court alone and they lose. What we need to do is find and create and make sure that everyone is eligible to find qualified eviction defense attorneys. It's not a complicated issue. What we need to do is simply this. We need to know and let people understand our elected officials at the city and the county and the presiding judge of the Superior Court failed to see the connection between evictions and homelessness. There's no justice if 99% of the tenants facing eviction in court fail. We call for the city, the county, and the Los Angeles Superior Court to join the On Every Fridge campaign to get this referral, get this referral flyer on every refrigerator in LA County. So this way tenants know where to go to find qualified legal help. Do not let this pass you up. Understand you can fight back, fight displacement, resist. Thank you.
So you're going to be hearing from some folks at 1749 Las Palmas who are right now facing eviction under the Ellis Act, even though the City Planning Commission denied the approval of the project that was supposed to be built where their building is.
I'm going to translate for her.
Buenos días. Gracias a todos los medios que se encuentran aquí.
Good morning. Thanks to all the media that are here today.
Mi nombre es Mauricia León.
My name is Mauricio León.
Soy uno de los inquilinos del 1749 de Las Palmas North on Hollywood.
I am one of the tenants at Las Palmas in Hollywood.
Soy una de las personas que está siendo afectada por la ley de Ellis, en la cual venimos a pedirles a todos los medios que hagan conciencia.
I am one of the families that are fighting and a victim of this foreclosure, of this injustice on the tenants, and we are affected by the Ellis Act.
somos una de las familias de las cuales están siendo afectadas por el desalojo de la ley Ellis.
I am one of the families that are being affected by the bill L.O.V.E.
Queremos parar esto porque somos muchas personas que estamos siendo afectadas, precisamente porque somos familias de bajos recursos.
We are asking to stop this because we are families of low resources, and there's too many of us being affected by this.
No podemos nosotros con los sueldos que tenemos soportar una renta caras.
We cannot do it with the kind of income that we are receiving to be able to maintain a housing and rents.
Nosotros estamos en la comunidad de Hollywood de 15, 20, 35 años.
We have been living in the community in Hollywood for 15, 20, 30 years.
En la cual nuestros hijos han crecido, nuestros padres están en la comunidad.
Our children have grown there, and our parents have roots in Hollywood.
En la cual se nos hace imposible podernos localizar en alguna otra vivienda debido a los precios tan altos.
It is almost impossible to try to find new locations or new rental places because the prices are very high.
Queremos pedirle a Mitchell O'Farrell que haga conciencia de eso. Sabemos que hay proyectos muy grandes, pero también nosotros estamos ahí y nadie se está preocupando por la gente que está siendo desalojada.
We're asking Councilman Mitchell O'Farrell to take a look at this, and you know, there is no one that is taking side on us. No one is preoccupied for our plight, so we're asking him to take a look at our situation.
Queremos pedirle al Housing Department, a la ciudad y a todos los medios que pongan atención en estos casos, porque no queremos ser parte de ahora vivir en las calles.
We are asking our city officials to pay attention to what's going on, because cases like ours are many, and we don't want to be living in the streets.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Now we have a student. As we know, students are very much affected on this affordable housing crisis. Many of them are living at home with their parents. Many graduate from our universities, but because the affordability and the student debt is so high, it's pretty hard for them, and it becomes a crisis for the students as well.
Hello everyone. Los Angeles Community College District this past June published a study that showed, or a survey that showed, that nearly 1 out of 5 of their students report being homeless. The Cal State in the same month released another survey that showed that out of their 500,000 students, nearly 10% of them reported homelessness. My name is Victor Garcia. I'm a recent graduate from UC Santa Barbara, and I'm one of the lucky ones. I am $30,000 in debt, solely on behalf of the housing that I had to pay. The only reason that I am standing before you today with a degree is because I took out all of those loans, and I am straddled with that debt now moving forward. And ironically, I don't even have credit, so take that with a grain of salt. But what the housing crisis has done for students especially is that it has ignored what our crisis has been, which is with the housing market raising 3% every year in some places, students are now being expected to work more, are expected to take time out of their studies, are expected to make ends meet, because that's what people did before. They made ends meet. But the reality and the misconceptions that we see when you browbeat students, when you shame them into accepting their reality, is we see students of color, students from immigrant families, working class students, first generation students, dropping out at higher rates. We're seeing them not complete their degrees, yet still being straddled with debt. We're seeing a cascading effect that is genuinely crippling the future of this nation, which we say we're trying to educate. On top of all of that, the reality is that when we ignore the plight of our most vulnerable, all of our most vulnerable, from students to our minorities, to anyone who doesn't have a voice for themselves currently, we are exasperating the crisis that we're facing. What we're also seeing in other cities and regions is an adversarial sort of relationship developing between the universities, the students, and their host cities, because we're seeing students who can no longer afford to live in university-owned housing and trying to find cheaper housing in their neighborhoods. in San Luis Obispo specifically, this has raised the local market value of homes and rents. And because students don't usually fight back, we're also seeing a lot of these landlords become slumlords and students living 6 students in a room paying $800 a month without any services, without any sort of repair, and they're expected to take that. And what this translates into is a sort of acceptance of that being correct. Yes, students might have to do more, but the reality is when we put more upon our students, that bleeds into the way we look at everything else. We take less of a chance when we look at our seniors or our veterans or anyone else who doesn't fit the mold that we put homelessness in. When you think of homelessness, you think of a certain type of homelessness, but when you look at homelessness, you don't think of the UCLA student living in their car. How many of you have here actually thought about the UCLA student living in their car? In Westwood or in Santa Monica? Honestly, most of us haven't. And that's a huge problem because we're not able to address the crisis if we don't look at it as a holistic thing. We don't look at it in the way that it affects people. We look at it, honestly, in the way that it affects prices and affects markets. And we must move back to a person-centered view of the housing crisis, which is why I'm very proud to introduce our next speaker, who's an advocate for seniors who are facing and struggling to survive within this crisis.
Thank you very much. Good morning. What some seniors don't realize is they can outlive their money. Or worse than that, they may outlive their children. My name is Emily Martiniuk. I'm a CSH Speak Up advocate, and this is what happened to me. My youngest son Myron was killed in a bus accident. He was 19. I was devastated. I've suffered from bipolar disorder for many years. I was never diagnosed, so I self-medicated to alleviate the pain. But it caught up with me. Then the economic crisis of 2008. I lost my business. By 2011, I lost my home, and I faced living on the streets. One afternoon, I found myself standing over the freeway thinking, this would be so easy. But somehow I came to my senses. And I climbed back down, and with a new determination to get some help, I took myself to Olive View Hospital, where I was placed on a 72-hour hold. My 72-hour hold turned into a 6-week stay at a county mental hospital, where I spent my 59th birthday. I was finally placed at L.A. Family Housing, where I lived for 9 months. I complied with requirements as to keeping doctor's appointments, picking up medicines, and taking classes. Once I received my Section 8 permanent base voucher, I moved into a new studio apartment in Sun Valley, California, where I still live. At the Glen Oaks Apartments where I live, I have services you would not find at your conventional apartment complex. Some of these supportive services include substance abuse programs, healing arts, cooking, gardening, and other mental health staff. Also, my doctor and my social worker come to my apartment complex for monthly and bi-weekly appointments. Today, 10,000 people will become seniors, 10,000 more tomorrow, and for many years to come. Most will need help. Seniors have special needs to keep their health, their independence, and their ability to live on their own after working hard all of their lives. These services are critical for seniors because a small crisis can lead to homelessness. Recently, I suffered a financial setback, and without supportive services and the staff of my apartment complex, I may have found myself back on the streets or in an institution, alone and homeless. You may think this will never happen to you. And please believe me, I hope it doesn't. But it happened to me. And it happens to thousands of people every day. Thanks to LA Family Housing and the Department of Mental Health, I have a new life. I can live independent in a supportive community and can afford to live there. I I also have been given the opportunity to be an advocate for the homeless. Thank you for sharing my story, and please support and continue to support policies for affordable and supportive housing for seniors and the homeless. Thank you, because everybody should have the opportunity to be a success story like me. Thank you again.
Hi, my name is Sheila the Rod, and I am a housing rights and renters' rights advocate. I'm going to share my story with you. My roommate and I lived in a rent-controlled apartment near USC. We had been living there for about 5 years. We moved in at the time where rents were still really low. The building that we moved into was fairly run down, and they had to reduce the rent even lower to try to fill their 20% vacancy. We moved in on a rent special. After we moved in, the building, we actually began working for the building and improved it and made it very nice. All of a sudden, there was now a waiting list for people to get into the building and live there. The management company wanted to raise the rents, and in order to do so, they wanted us to move out of our rent-controlled apartment into a very small studio apartment at market rate. When we refused, they tried to evict us. This started the whole process. We faced 2 years of harassments and multiple evictions filed, one after the other, some at the same time. So we had more than one eviction pending. This great big, financially stable owner and apartment company just poured money and money into fighting us. And we, unfortunately, were students and low income, and we did everything we could. During one of our battles, unlawful detainers that was filed against us, we had legal aid representing us. The day before the trial, they dismissed the case because they knew it would lose. Before they did that, they did underhanded tactics and had filed another eviction against us. When we lost our legal representation and we got left on our own, we made an error according to the court and lost in a default judgment. Even though we tried to overturn this default judgment, and the courts are supposed to overturn it in the interest of justice and provide us a trial, the courts refused to do so. We ended up losing our home and becoming homeless about a year ago. We had to drop out of school, and we are still currently homeless right now. The courts are not on the tenant's side right now, and any excuse they can find, they will. Hello? Okay. We are currently appealing that decision and hoping that justice will be served. But one of the things I want to mention that happened to us is not just unique to us. This kind of displacement above and beyond the Ellis Act of rent-controlled apartments is occurring everywhere. People who have rent-controlled units who don't have turnover and realize that they can get double the rent, which now the apartment that we had is going for double the rent that we were paying, double. They are using every tactic available to them to get the tenants out, even if they have to spend $15,000 to $20,000 on lawyers and court fees. They win in the end because double the rent provides them that amount of money back in less than a year almost. So I want to implore you to make sure that we hold the courts and our city officials accountable, because it has basically destroyed our lives. My roommate and I have been homeless for a year. We're unable to even get another apartment because of this eviction on our record. So not only did we lose our previously rent-controlled apartment and have trouble finding an affordable apartment in today's extremely high rent environment, but no one will even accept our application because we have an eviction on our record through no fault of our own, simply because we complained about an illegal rent increase. This is where it all started. Thank you.
One of the areas that is being affected a lot and nobody's talking about is small business. Small business is being affected by development, and with us is Noah, and he's going to talk a little bit on this. The defense of small business as well as tenants' rights, and he does a lot of the work, and he'll explain some of his work. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Carlos. So I'm not sure I'm going to talk about small business, but good morning. My name is Noah Greenberg. I'm an attorney with a group called the Los Angeles Center for Community Law and Action. We're based in Boyle Heights in East Los Angeles. The affordable housing crisis throughout California has had a debilitating impact on tenants and renters in Los Angeles County. One of the reasons why is the loss of affordable housing units, existing affordable housing units that are already covered by rent control. Affordable housing advocates, organizers, and lawyers like me and others here, we've seen over the past years the expansion of tactics, strategies by landlords and property owners, especially new investors, even in the city of Los Angeles, to harass existing tenants, existing rent-controlled tenants, to get them to move out, followed by the filing of pretextual and baseless eviction lawsuits to further harass those tenants to leave. One possible solution, is a new local anti-harassment ordinance in the city of Los Angeles. It's currently under consideration by a group called the Housing and Community Investment Department of the city of Los Angeles. And we think it's important not only that the Housing Committee of the City Council support this ordinance, but that the entire City Council support it when it comes under consideration by the Council. And then finally, that the Mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, support it when it comes to his desk as well. We need more local level protections to prevent tenant harassment, to really give teeth to existing statewide tenant protections that should, but don't actually prevent that harassment in the city of Los Angeles. Another problem we've seen is the loss of affordable housing units, existing affordable housing units in the city that are not rent controlled. A building, tenants at 1815 East 2nd Street in Boyle Heights, which is where I work primarily, they're facing rent hikes of between $550 and $800 a month. A new investor bought their property and jacked up the rent immediately to totally unaffordable levels for those tenants. One reason why that landlord, that investor, is able to impose that rent hike is because of a state law called Costa-Hawkins that we want to repeal on the state level. And in order to do that, we would call on Mayor Garcetti and the rest of the Los Angeles City Council to support the repeal of that state law, because legislators in Sacramento are going to take their cues from the leaders, the local government leaders in the biggest city in the state of California and the second biggest city in the country. Another problem, and it would be unfortunate if we didn't recognize that the affordable housing crisis in Southern California impacts people outside the city of Los Angeles, throughout Los Angeles County, and especially in the unincorporated parts of the county, where residents, where tenants have virtually no voice at the local level of government. They have virtually no local representation, and they have virtually no local level tenant protections to maintain, to help preserve their existing affordable housing. We work with a building that's now widely known, I think, among affordable housing advocates in this city and in this county, in City Terrace in unincorporated East Los Angeles. The building is facing a 63% rent increase that took their monthly rent from $1,250 to $2,000 a month. That's possible because we don't have county-wide rent control. We don't have rent control protections. We don't have really any local level tenant protections for tenants living in unincorporated parts of LA County. So not only are we calling on city leaders, Eric Garcetti, and the Los Angeles City Council to expand tenant protections for tenants living in the city, this is a county-wide and regional issue, and it demands a county-wide and regional solution.
Thank you everyone for being here. I want to give a big thank you to Sylvie Shane from the LA Tenants Union, Rich over here from the Eviction Defense Network, everyone else who's here, everyone else who has been fighting for tenants' rights. But I do want to apologize to Mayor Garcetti and the City Council right now. I want to give you a heartfelt apology because all of these people here were too nice to you. They were too nice because you have failed each and every one of these people over there. You don't know me, Mayor Garcetti. You don't know me because I'm on Skid Row 5 nights a week. I'm serving the people who are homeless because you let affordable housing in this city go to hell. You won't see me. The only time you're on Skid Row, the only time you're with the homeless is on Thanksgiving or if there's more than 10 cameras. We don't need the Olympics. Every day I get phone calls from single moms who don't have a place to go. I get calls from single moms who got into domestic violence situations. They separated, they can't afford an apartment. The Olympics is not going to feed the single moms in their cars. The Olympics is not going to feed the people who are homeless. The Olympics is not going to help the college kids with debt. What is going to help is you forget the Olympics and you understand that affordable housing is the #1 priority for the city of Los Angeles. I am not asking you to be a leader. I am asking you to be a human being. Think of the people. Think of the 250,000 people struggling to pay their rent. Before we used to say people were one paycheck away from being homeless. Now they're giving one Uber ride away. People are driving their cars for Uber because they can't make the rent. They are 2 drives away from being homeless. Where are you? You should be here. You should be on Skid Row. You should be fighting against the Ellis Act. You should be fighting against Costa Hawkins, not going after a bullshit Olympics. We need you to lead from the front. Be a human being. The rest of the city council, think of the people in this city that you took an oath to serve and protect. Remove Costa Hawkins. Remove the Ellis Act. Remove all these buildings where people are getting kicked out. Represent the people. Give us a city where we have a city where we call everyone has equal rights. But not everyone with those equal rights has the ability to afford housing. Give us a city that's really equal for all. Fight for LA. Thank you.
We have Jeremy White, who's representing California for Progress, grassroots movement.
Thank you. My name's Jeremy. I'm with California for Progress. I was going to give a speech, but I think I'm going to cede my time to a friend I just ran into who's going through this right now, personally in her own life. So here's Susan Monet.
Hi. I made it a point to be here today because this is personal now. Like, I've always cared. I've seen the houses, all the tents and everything, but it's personal because my mother and I got evicted from her house because there was fraud. We can't get the government to do anything about this horrible thing that happened. We were on the street for a week, and my mother's 83 years old. Anyway, my brother paid for a hotel so that we weren't like literally on the pavement with the tents, okay? So we lost everything. During that time, I was looking for a place to rent. To my shock, we could not find anything at all, anywhere. So when I was looking to rent, we now are paying $2,200 for a stupid apartment in Montebello. I'm not seeing the ocean. I'm seeing rooftops, and I hear all my neighbors all the time. I feel like I live in Brazil. So basically, we were up against 2 people to get this apartment. Our landlord is a slumlord. Okay, we were up to 2 people. The other 2 people were single moms with kids. And you know why they gave us the place? Because we're not with kids. That is wrong. That is really wrong. They discriminated against us because we're both on disability. I don't have a job. I'm on disability. My mom is 83. So where are we supposed to live? Where is everybody living? This is absurd. When I moved here in '84 from New York City, Skid Row was 2 or 3 blocks. Now there's these tents everywhere. This is absurd. I'm moving back to New York. You know why? It's cheaper there. It's cheaper to live in New York City than it is to live in LA. Or I'm moving to Connecticut. I'm not sure. But I'm getting the heck out of here as soon as I can raise money to move out of here. I drive Uber. I have to raise $1,000 this week to pay the rent of $2,200. We're trying to move. Guess what? The landlord won't let us move because we're stuck with a stupid lease. It's absurd. Where are people going to live? Where are people living? Single moms, black people, people of color, handicapped people. You know the people on the streets? You know why they're there? Because nobody wants to give them a place to live. The fallacy of thinking that people on the streets don't want to live somewhere. Back in the day, you know, because it's like, oh, you know, they're mental, whatever. That does not exist anymore. It's actual people that have jobs that are living on the streets because $10, $12 doesn't cut it. It doesn't add up to rent. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to say. I forgot some stuff. But anyway, thank you, Jeremy. You're awesome. And thank you, Carlos. And I'm glad I'm here. Now I got to go drive Uber because that's how I pay my rent. I work my ass off on Uber. Thank you.
Just before we conclude, we want to ask Mayor Garcetti, City Council, and our leaders. There is an answer to affordable housing, and that is through public banking. Public banking is needed in Los Angeles. Private institutions for profit are not going to do it. We're only going to look and see more of the same. From the foreclosure crisis, to the homeless crisis, to the housing crisis again. If we continue to depend on these institutions to help us out, the help is never going to come. It has to be done through public banking. So we encourage our city leaders to take a serious look at public banking because there is the answer to be able to bring affordable housing to Angelenos. Thank you for being here today.
For all the media that came out today, ABC, KPCC, Telemundo, thank you for being here. Thank you for covering the issues that are important to this city. For all our volunteers who are here, thank you for coming out here, bringing your tents and showing this. For the people of LA, this today is temporary. But in 3 years, unless you act upon yourself to ensure that we have affordable housing, this is going to be permanent. Today it'll leave at 2 o'clock. In 3 years, if you don't do anything, this will be here permanently. Think of your city, think of your people. Together, let's make Los Angeles affordable for all. Thank you everyone for coming.